Welcome to the Between the Whistles Sports Detroit Lions News Podcast on the Between the Whistles Sports YouTube page. Listen, there's a lot of things that I've been talking about on this page with Lions related. This one is just to get this out there. When you look at the Detroit Lions, do they really need a quarterback? Because everything I have seen from the national media, it lends me to believe that they don't know or they haven't watched the Detroit Lions at all. Because when you look at CBS, when you look at Pro Football Talk, they are given this misnomer that Detroit needs a quarterback. And one of the quarterbacks that they are tagging to Detroit is a guy who is currently on the tag in Lamar Jackson. And a guy who you will have to give up 2 first-round picks to get, plus pay him a boatload of money. When you look at Jared Goff, he is making 14% of the cap right now. He is literally a bargain quarterback right now. I'm not worried about a quarterback right now. Because if you look into the future, it's hard to look into the future because you don't know what the future of quarterbacks could hold. But you look at next year, that draft class could be really special. There could be a few quarterbacks that come out that are pretty good, and they will be pretty good pros. So when you look at Lamar Jackson, when you look at Jared Goff, there's no reason for the Detroit Lions to jump ship for Lamar Jackson compared to Jared Goff. Here's the reasons why. Like I said earlier, you're going to have to pay Lamar Jackson. Plus, you're probably going to have to give up capital because he's on that tag. You probably have to give up 2 first-round picks in conjunction. So you give up you give this year's first-round pick and next year's first-round pick. You keep the Rams pick, and then you have to give him his guaranteed contract. And the one thing that doesn't make sense with Lamar Jackson. He's an outstanding player. But there's no way in hell I would ever give him guaranteed money. And this is the reason why. Now, he's a league MVP. He's a great player. He's so fun to watch. But he puts his body at risk every time he runs the ball. If you were to give a guaranteed contract to anybody in pro football right now, I think you'd start with Patty Mahomes. I think you'd start with Joe Burrow. And I think you would start with maybe Josh Allen. But again, Buffalo, I don't think they want to give guaranteed money to Josh Allen because he likes to put his body at risk too. So you look at Patty Mahomes and you look at Joe Burrow. Those are 2 guys that would command guaranteed money. And I would give them guaranteed money if they were on the market right now. I don't care about the price because those are 2 of the best quarterbacks in the league. When it comes to Lamar Jackson, he's not this proficient passer like people think. Yes, his legs are a huge ability to him, but when you're running the ball all the time as a quarterback, you put your body at risk. You put yourself at risk, and if you want guaranteed money, you put the team at risk. And if you give Lamar, and let's say you sign Lamar Jackson to this contract, and you gave him the guaranteed money that he wants, you might as well kiss Sewell goodbye. You might as well kiss Aiden Hutchinson goodbye at some point. You're going to kiss a lot of players goodbye because you're not going to be able to afford them. If you look at the liability of the contract that the Cleveland Browns signed Deshaun Watson for, the next 2 years they will pay $66 million for Deshaun Watson because of the guaranteed money that they paid that they restructured at some point. So he's guaranteed that money. It's not, if he gets cut, if he gets cut, it's not like he gets like 30 million or something along those lines, which we see in NFL all the time. He's going to get 66 million regardless, unless they extend him and kind of even that money out. That's why I wouldn't pay Lamar. That's why I wouldn't go after Lamar Jackson. The guaranteed contract, it's a total joke, especially with the kind of quarterback that Lamar Jackson is. I mean, let's be honest. He likes to put himself at risk by running. He gets himself in some trouble. He's missed some games due to injury already. So if you're telling me you're going to pay Lamar Jackson this money, he's going to miss 4 to 5 games every year because he's missed a couple games every year in the last 2 years. It's just a bad situation. And if I'm the Detroit Lions, there's no way in hell that I would reverse course from where I am right now. Here's another reason why you wouldn't go to Lamar Jackson. If you went and you try to sign Lamar Jackson for the contract that he wants, right, you would have to give up a lot, like I said. But in the in the rare occurrence, which we see all the time in sports, where a player, there's a trade that's being talked about, and the player that is getting traded, or the player that the team's trying to trade for, whose job the player that they're, it's a confusing situation. So if I'm Jared Goff and I hear that Lamar Jackson, the Detroit Lions are in on Lamar Jackson, and it doesn't happen. Let's say negotiations fall apart, and basically it's back to Jared Goff square one. Well, if I'm Jared Goff, I'm like, get me the hell out of here, because they're already trying to find an escape plan for me. The reality of the situation is, right now Jared Goff is the second best quarterback in the NFC. Right now, you could say the Detroit Lions are one of the best teams in the NFC. And when you look at Lamar Jackson, what upside does he get by going to Detroit? What does he add to Detroit that will bring them over the top to a Super Bowl? Do you get what I'm saying? There's not much. And if he misses 3 to 4 games, I mean, you know how it is. Every game is critical in the NFL season. He misses 3 to 4 games. I mean, those 3 to 4 games could be a playoff spot. We've seen it this year with Detroit. They lost a game against Seattle. That game ended up costing them a playoff spot. It could happen every year. So when I look at Jared Goff, when I look at Lamar Jackson doesn't make sense for the Detroit Lions for a couple of reasons. One, you're going to have to pay him the money. 2, the draft capital. And 3, the injury history that he's shown in the last 2 years. And I know people will use, well, he has a good offensive line in Detroit. He has one of the top offensive lines in Baltimore. I don't know if you realize this, but Baltimore has the 5th ranked offensive line per Pro Football Focus. Detroit is 4th. There's not much of a difference between Detroit and Baltimore's offensive line. They're nearly the same. Sometimes when you're a quarterback like Lamar Jackson and you're scrambling around, sometimes you make it hard for your offensive linemen to actually block for you. Sometimes you make it easier for the pass rushers to get out of their lanes and kind of create havoc. That's what you see with Lamar Jackson. And Jared Goff, for all the negative things that he has around him, he's actually a pretty decent quarterback in the accurate short to intermediate throws. And I'm not willing to take the risk of Lamar Jackson, him missing 2 to 3 games or 3 to 4 games for there's not much of a big payoff. Now, if you were talking that Patrick Mahomes is available, absolutely, we'll talk. Joe Burrow is available, absolutely, we'll talk. Justin Herbert's available, we will talk. But again, Lamar Jackson is a guy that he constantly puts his body at risk. He's missed some time in the last 2 years. I don't see the big gap between Jared Goff and Lamar Jackson like some people think. And I just don't understand why the national media thinks that Detroit should go after Lamar Jackson when Jared Goff led the Detroit Lions to a top 5 offense. This is Detroit Lions News Podcast. I'm Between the Whistles Detroit. We will see you in the next Lions video.